What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to another Battlefield 6 gun guide. In today's episode, by popular request, we're going to be diving deep into the stats for the SOR-300SC, and toward the end of the video, I'm going to be sharing a couple excellent attachment combinations to use with this one. And starting it off, as always, let's have a look at our raw power potential, and this gun has the slowest rate of fire in the carbine category at least, at 600 rounds per minute, and it's going to range from a 3 to 7 shot kill to the body, depending on the range. And what that means for our time to kill potential is right up close, between 0 and 9.5 meters, we have a very solid time to kill potential for a carbine at 200 milliseconds. And then from there, it increases by 100 milliseconds for every additional shot fired. And we can see once you start getting to longer ranges where it's taking like 5, 6, or 7 shots to kill, we are seeing a pretty steep increase in time to kill potential relative to the other carbines. And so when it comes to this raw power, this gun mainly excels in close to medium ranges. And speaking of ranges, our range drop-off points are very standard for the carbines here. We can see our first damage range drops off at 9.5 meters, then 21.25 meters, then 37.5, and then finally 75 meters is where we drop off to a 7-shot kill. As for muzzle velocity, this is not very good, even for a carbine, at just 563 meters per second. It's the second worst in the carbine category, and therefore that is something that may hold you back if you're trying to stretch your ranges out, especially when shooting against moving targets. Then let's have a look at our hipfire values, which are second best in the game for primary weapons. For a minimum spread, it's pretty much the same as the SMGs in this game, or it's at least very close to the point where on my graphic it overlaps with SMGs. Whereas for our maximum spread when moving and or firing, we are going to be seeing a higher spread potential than the SMGs, but still better than all of the other primary weapon types in the game. So this does quite well at hipfire. After that, let's have a look at one of the strengths of this gun, and this is recoil. As you can see here, we've got a very consistent recoil pattern, and the total magnitude of recoil is actually second best in the carbine category. It's just the AK-205 that's significantly more accurate than all of the other carbines. Outside of that, this is quite accurate. And you can see it kicks upward with a very, very slight lean to the right. There's very little horizontal recoil though. And as expected, there's very little spread early on in the recoil pattern, and it will bloom out a little bit as you continue holding down the trigger if you go full auto for too long. Overall though, I would say this is one of the strengths of this gun, is it is quite accurate. And now let's get into our handling stats. And with this gun, it's just standard for a carbine. There's really nothing out of the ordinary here at all. It's got a standard aim down sight and sprint out time, regular magazine capacity at 30 rounds, and our reload times are quite fast at 2.25 seconds. As for our movement speeds, these are standard for the carbine category and quite good for this game. They're just beat out by SMGs and pistols. So no surprises there. And then finally, let's have a look at our REDSEC stats against 2 armor plates in Battle Royale. The SOR-300SC is going to be a 6 to 13 shot kill, meaning up close we've got an excellent time to kill potential for REDSEC at 500 milliseconds. However, this increases very sharply as you extend your range, all the way up to 1200 milliseconds, which is the slowest time to kill in REDSEC for the carbine category and one of the slowest in the entire game. So this gun, well, excellent in close ranges, and it can hold its own just fine at medium range. As you get to those longer ranges, it becomes really bad in REDSEC. And with all of that out of the way, we can finally move into a couple excellent attachment combinations. And the first one I wanted to share is my preferred setup with the SOR-300SC. I really like this one. And with it, we've got the OSA-7 optic, my preferred optic, the standard suppressor, so we can stay off the radar for anybody that's at least 15 meters away from us. We have the extended barrel on that, so we can bring up that muzzle velocity a bit so I can feel more confident challenging people at longer ranges. Also to help with that, we have the 6H64 vertical underbarrel. And that just helps bring our recoil down a little bit. Not that it really needs it that much, but it helps a little, and that's nice to have. We've also got the 40-round magazine on this, just so I don't have to reload all that often. Not that it's a big problem since our rate of fire is quite slow, but I do like having a bigger magazine just so I'm not stuck reloading very often. And then we're just topping it off with the standard ammunition. And you can see this one is a little bit more accurate than the base when looking at the recoil, due to that underbarrel grip. And I just find this is a really nice, balanced all-arounder. I would generally still try to keep your gunfights up close and personal, but this at least has a much better potential at handling enemies at range due to that extended barrel and the underbarrel grip. So while it's not great at range, it is viable at range at least, and you can challenge some gunfights beyond the typical ranges you'd expect with this gun. But that's the first one, and the one that I'll be using 9 times out of 10 with this. However, I also wanted to share a very interesting hipfire build with this. Now with this, we're once again using the OSA-7 optic, just if we want to aim down sight. We've got the 50 milliwatt green laser for a really nice tight hipfire spread. The flashlight also helps with our hipfire, at least while firing. We've got the short barrel on there, also helping with our hipfire spread. So that combination of those 3 attachments really tightens your spread up drastically. We're using the flash hider on this just because it's cheap and at least we won't have a diamond appear above our head when we fire. We're also using the compact hand stop, and this one's a bit of a key with this setup. This allows us to fire while sprinting. Now, keep in mind, there is still a sprint to fire delay, so it's not like you can just fire immediately coming out of a sprint, but that's where the rail cover comes in. That helps a little bit in that area. And then finally, we're just topping this off with the standard ammunition and the 36 round mag, just because we could afford the 36 round mag in combination with all these other attachments. And it doesn't hurt to have a few extra rounds in the magazine. And that is quite a fun and solid way to use the gun, especially with that compact hand stop. You can hip fire while sprinting toward your enemy and closing that distance. And that makes it quite solid and effective as long as you're playing your ranges appropriately. And there we have it. That's finally going to wrap it up today's gun guide on the SOR-300SC. As for my thoughts on this gun, I think it's pretty solid. I honestly don't really see it as like a major standout or anything. I don't love this gun, but in saying that, I don't hate it either. I've managed to find some success with it. It is quite solid in close to medium ranges. It's just as you stretch those ranges out, it becomes less and less powerful, and there's many other guns in the game that I would rather have in my hands. Now, of course, those are just my opinions on the SOR-300SC, and I'd love to hear what you guys think about this gun in those comments down below. And also, I'm curious to know which gun you'd like me to cover next for this series. And if you guys have missed any of the previous episodes, I will leave a link to the gun guide playlist in the description of the video. And if you enjoyed this one, a like rating is always appreciated. And don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.